Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Chris Hand. You know, I had a very serious monologue planned. Very hard-hitting and newsworthy. But as we're wrapping up the Gang of Amigos, I noticed something out the corner of my eye that I just have to address. Who vandalized my Trump mugshot?
That's not going to do. I
got this framed mugshot in here.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. The best mugshot.
Best ever.
If you're watching on Super Talk TV, you can see it's been vandalized.
It's the best mugshot ever.
Best mugshot ever. Got the devil horns. Yeah, they did the whole thing with the...
They gave him devil horns. They gave him glasses. They gave him a mustache and a beard.
What's it saying? Because isn't there a speech bubble?
It says, talk to the hand.
Oh.
Yeah. Hey, Mac, do you know anything about this? You know, Mac is here all day. He claims to be my friend. Oh. He asked me yesterday to retweet his sports podcast, and I did it. I did that with no questions.
You did, so yeah, right away.
Not only once. I quoted it.
You did do it twice.
And then I did it twice. You know what I'm doing? I'm going and deleting those tweets right now.
No.
Because I asked Mac what happens, and Mac said, I don't know. But he says it in such a way that, like, I know he knows, but he doesn't know.
Oh, I have no idea.
I have no clue.
I'm going to leave this back on the easel.
All I'm going to say is you got to talk to Matt Murphy about it.
Oh, I'm going to talk to Matt Murphy about it.
Murphy Show.
Have you seen Matt Murphy on the internet lately? He's pissing off a lot of people. Does he really need me, too?
Yeah, he's making you mad now, too.
Does he need Chris Hand on him, too?
That's Murphy Show right there.
Golly. Very disappointed.
Yeah, you'll have to hash this out at 11:53.
Oh, we just got a text from our friend Tim. Said it wasn't me.
Oh, yeah.
That seems pretty guilty, Tim.
I don't know, man. That speech bubble. Oh, that's funny. I was wondering when you were going to notice because I was listening to the Amigos.
Was it done yesterday?
On the way here. Got to talk to Murphy about
Oh, weird.
Got to talk to Murphy about that. That's what we deferred to. Yeah. Ask Murphy.
Ask Murphy. I'm like Karine Jean-Pierre. You're going to have to talk to them about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're pulling a KJP on me? You're going to KJP this whole situation? Yes. Refer to the White House counsel.
I've got a huge pamphlet, a huge book here, flipping through, and yeah, you're going to have to talk to them about it.
I'm very disappointed, guys. This is throwing me through a loop.
I'm so sorry.
Normally come in, like I get my show prep ready and all that stuff. I open up my email, I get my notes out. I haven't done any of that because I found out my property was vandalized at work.
Now, wait a minute. Now, the actual mugshot isn't damaged, though, right? Because it's in a frame.
It's in a frame.
Ken, it's the thought that counts. All right? Whose side are you on, Ken Weaver?
I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it, boys. I'm a journalist.
Exactly.
You just want the news.
I just cover the news, boys.
Okay. All right.
Hey,
was Ken involved in this, too? I need answers.
Oh.
Somebody get Murphy on the hotline. I don't even know if I can wait until 11:48 or whatever we do our crossover. You know what? I don't even know if I'm going to do a crossover with Murphy anymore.
It's betrayed me.
Can't believe this. I got a text from Becky that said, my mother had a saying, the guilty dog barks first. Interesting. Interesting.
No, you guys got to go on Super Talk TV. You guys got to go look at this. It is
all right.
It's I put it back on the easel.
Yeah,
it's back on
there.
The easel.
Yes,
back in a prominent position.
Vandalized and all.
Yep. I don't know. I don't know what is going on.
It's the best mugshot ever.
It's the best mugshot. Very disappointed. I'm very disappointed. I thought, you know what? I'm really disappointed in you, Matt.
I knew it was coming.
Like, I didn't even get a text. I didn't even get a heads up. I had to find out the hard way.
And I saw through the glass because I had forgotten about it. And I saw through the glass. And I go, oh, no. And I saw you guys.
What did you see through the glass?
I saw you guys look at it, you and Dan. I couldn't hear you, but I saw you, like, point up. And I saw you guys' heads kind of just crank up. And I was like, oh, there it is. This is the way we're starting today's show. So, and here we are. I'm so sorry.
You're sorry, but you won't own up to your part in this. You're not going to fess up.
I don't know.
Yeah. So you're going full KJP,
Yep,
full pence
Full
on me.
pence. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Very disloyal. Very. This must have been how Trump felt when Mike certified the election.
This is exactly it. Yes.
I can't believe it.
And now our feud will go down in history. Yes. Just like theirs.
I'm thrown off. I thought this was a building of camaraderie and friendship.
Bill says Eminem doing it again. That's not. This is no.
Murphy and Mac.
No,
this
this is
because
not- this is
Murphy's
not a team up.
jealous. This is because Murphy's jealous that you're my producer. Is that what this is?
No,
Is this some kind of coup?
Oh, I should have been left out. Oh no.
You should have been left out while you're trying to stay out of it, but you know full well who did this. You're just as guilty as the rest of them.
Steve says Mac knows full well it is better to not get caught.
Yeah. 0121 says it must be a slow news day. It's, you know what? It's not. I'm just upset.
And this is breaking news.
Yeah, we
I mean,
have
come
plenty of
on.
news. I've just been thrown through a loop. All right. I can't believe you guys did that to the best mug shot.
The best.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. And that's a lot worse. There is news going on. Hunter Biden is going to court on the 26th. And, Hunter Biden has a mugshot as well. Jesse Waters was talking about it last night. Apparently, they don't want you seeing the Hunter Biden mugshot. Oh, and now you're not going to give me audio after all that, Max.
Sabotaging the whole show now. This is it.
You're sabotaging the whole show. I am so upset with you. He's going to get an earful during the
Yeah, I know,
commercial
and you
break.
can't. If you're not on Super Talk TV, you can't see Chris's face, but it actually is. It does look disappointed. I do feel it. So I feel like one of Chris's kids right now or something.
It's worse.
Go to your room.
I love my kids. This is far worse. All right, Hunter Biden has a mugshot as well.
Yesterday, we found out Hunter had a mugshot. The mugshot is from his July appearance, and sources tell us it'll be extremely hard to obtain the mugshot because if a U.S. Marshal merely searches the database for Hunter Biden, it'll be flagged and that U.S. Marshal will be fired. So we are calling on all federal marshals close to retirement to do what they think is right. And we'll keep you posted on our FOIA requests because we know how much Hunter loves the camera. Hopefully he's decent.
So Jesse Waters calls on any U.S. Marshals that if they're close to retirement to grab that mugshot because the warning was put out that if anybody leaks the Hunter mugshot, they will be fired. So I would like to put out a request that if you're a U.S. Marshal close to retirement and you're within the listening area, send it to us first because that'd be awesome. That'd be pretty dope. I would get that one framed as well. And I'd give you a tour of the studio. So, you might get fired from your job, but you get a tour of the Super Talk studios.
Worth it.
There's like 3 rooms. I'll show you all of them. It's super dope.
One of them's a closet. It's great.
Super dope.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be fun. But yeah, no, I mean, we want the mugshot. Yeah, I don't think it would be as great as the mugshot behind me.
Well, that's the greatest mugshot.
Yeah, and you let it be vandalized yesterday on your watch.
Oh, gosh, here we
It
go.
was vandalized on your watch. And I also may be the only one in the country who I just feel like let Hunter zoom in to the court appearance. And I know that might be an unpopular take, but his last court appearance, he had Secret Service detail on the way there. And I'm just tired of footing the bill for this royal family that is known as the Bidens. Why do we need to foot the bill for a Secret Service detail and a motorcade for Hunter Biden to go to court? Like, just let the man zoom in and get it over with. Better yet, let's just speed this whole thing up and send him off to, whatever jail in Delaware we can send him to. He won't see any jail time. That's wishful thinking at best. Like, wishing my Trump mugshot won't get vandalized. There was a long time there I thought we'd have a better chance of seeing Hunter Biden in jail than seeing the mugshot vandalized here at the studio. But yeah, no, I don't think we should be sending a motorcade along with Hunter Biden for court. I don't think the taxpayers should be paying for that. And if he's going to have Secret Service detail on his way to court, I don't think that it's essential. We're how many trillion in debt right now? What's the total number? I'm making you do work today, by the way, so Google that for me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. We're gonna have a lot of facts today. A lot of fact checking.
33 trillion. Dang, I knew it. I should have just said it.
Oh, yeah, did you?
Totally did.
Just like you knew it was wrong for them to vandalize the mugshot, and you should have said
Didn't
something,
do
but you
anything.
didn't. But you didn't. So 33 trillion in debt. We're going to spend more money for the first son to go to court. Super weak. I don't think that is a good use of tax dollars. And as much as I think that Hunter Biden is just a slumlord, scumbag, loser, trash person. Even more so, I don't think our tax dollars should be spent on a slumlord, scumbag, trash person for Secret Service detail. 8980 said that's $1 billion an hour on our debt.
Wow.
Pretty cool. Sounds great. I wonder how much we can save with the government shutdown. I'm all for a government shutdown. We need to cut this spending down quick. Also, the border is an absolute mess. And yesterday on his Twitter, and I did find it, there were a couple things I found weird. He didn't put it on his Governor Abbott Twitter, but Greg Abbott declared on Twitter an emergency at the border. It was on his Greg Abbott _TX Twitter account. So I don't know why he didn't put it on his official Gov Abbott Twitter account. So that was weird. But he said, I officially declared an invasion at our border because of Biden's policies. We deployed the Texas National Guard, DPS, and local law enforcement. We are building a border wall, razor wire, and marine barriers. We are also repelling migrants. Then he posted a letter that he sent the president dated November 16th, 2022. And in the letter, he highlighted a portion that says the federal government's failure has forced me to invoke Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 of the U.S. Constitution, thereby enabling the state of Texas to protect its own territory against invasion by the Mexican drug cartels. And, while I think it's great that Governor Abbott is doing this, I do find it a little odd, the timing, and I find it a little odd that he's referencing a letter from November of 2022. Is this a little bit too late? Like, is this political theater? Like, why now? Why not 3 years ago? I mean, we could make the argument, why didn't the governor of Texas do this 3 decades ago? This border has been a mess for my entire life. We've had a soft invasion for my entire life. It's now ramping up exponentially. And, I'm glad that something is going to be done about it, but I worry that it's not going to be anything realistic that we can sink our teeth into. Yesterday, razor wire that Texas had installed in Eagle Pass at the river there to stop illegal crossings was cut by the Biden administration. Cut. What? Cut by the Biden administration? The razor wire to stop illegal entry into the country was cut by Biden's Department of Homeland Security. Let that sink in. The Biden Department of Homeland Security is actively betraying the state of Texas and the country by opening our border. I know how it feels to be actively betrayed. Looking at you, Mac.
Come on.
I know how they feel in Texas. You think somebody's supposed to have your back, like the way the Department of Homeland Security should have the back of the state of Texas. And then they just stab him in the back. So, we're going to talk about this. We are. We're also going to talk about the border. Okay?
Talk about both. Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We're going to talk about all this. 920 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for the Dr. Gill Center. I know so many people that are dealing with pain, and you don't really want to go to the doctor because you don't want to be prescribed a pill and slow walk yourself down that path of addiction. It's crazy and scary that it seems like doctors just want to put a Band-Aid on your pain and not really fix it. And that's why I'm such a big supporter of the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin. They want to fix your pain with no pills, no surgery, no downtime. No matter what the pain is, back, neck, knee, hip, elbow, all of it can be treated with no needles and no downtime. At the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin, they've been helping people get back to pain-free life just that way for over 30 years. 30 years. They wouldn't be doing it for this long if they weren't doing it the right way. And right now, the Dr. Gill Center wants to do it the right way for you, offering a special offer to those of you that are out there suffering with pain, looking for non-surgical solutions. So get this, $49 gets you all of your new patient initial exams, x-ray, and a complete review of findings. So less than $50 to find out what's causing your pain, come up with a plan to fix it, and get yourself back to becoming pain-free. Give the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin a call now and start that journey in becoming pain-free. The number, my friends, 615-882-4838. That's 615-882-4838. And tell them Chris Hand told you to call. Don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gill.
Manhunt underway after an accused killer is let out of jail by mistake. Details coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It's Chris Hand, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Mac, they say the thing about history is that history tends to repeat itself.
Oh, okay.
I got a text here
Yeah.
from my friend 0654. You know what happened on this day in history?
Okay, fill me in.
It was 1780. Benedict Arnold committed treason against the colonies. His treason, an attempt, unsuccessful, mind you, to give West Point to the British, pales in comparison to the treason we're seeing today. And I agree with you, 0654. It pales in comparison.
0654, why?
You think you know a guy. You think he's one of your bros, and then he Benedict Arnolds you. I know how that feels.
0654. Keep your mouth shut.
If you want to see the vandalism that happened in the WTN studios, somebody took the Trump mugshot, the very best mugshot that I had framed.
The best.
And put in here as a gift. Somebody vandalized it. We have a list of running suspects. We will get to the bottom of this.
Search teams are out.
Listen, you are not involved in the search. You're suspect number one. Matt Murphy has weighed in on the text line, if that's even his real name. He says, I emphatically deny being responsible for any vandalism. I shall offer a robust affirmative defense at 11:50 to protect my honor.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Dude,
I don't know about that.
You don't know about... No, now...
Fellow double M. Come on.
Now you're going to throw him under the bus? Before, you're just not saying anything. Now you're going to throw Murphy under the bus?
Not at liberty to say anything.
Are you double Benedicting over here? Is that what you're doing? Very disappointed in Matt Murphy. The super text line is betting that it is Matt Murphy. We're going to get to the bottom of it. We are.
Ray says, so is it permanently vandalized?
Nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent, Ray. We will rebuild. We will. I promise you, sir.
Come
if
back
I have to
stronger.
go back to Walmart and print it again and deal with the look of disgust having Trump's mugshot printed out by one of the liberals working at the photo counter, I'll do it, sir. I will. And luckily the frame isn't ruined. But
Still intact.
we're going to find out who did this. We will. We're also going to get to the bottom of what's happening at the border, and we're going to talk about Governor Greg Abbott. We're going to do that next. Right now, Ken Weaver's got the latest headlines on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$9:30 on the dot this Thursday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Indiana, authorities in Marion County locked in a desperate manhunt for 28-year-old suspected killer Kevin Mason, whom officials say was accidentally released from prison 8 days ago and hasn't been seen since. Mason was arrested and charged for a murder in 2021 on September 11th and was accidentally released 2 days later due to what Sheriff Kerry Forrestal called a clerical error stemming from staffing issues inside the prison.
We're short-staffed. They're underpaid. That's not an excuse, but it's a fact.
Latest on the government spending showdown in our nation's capital. Rachel Scott.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is now scrambling to try to unite Republicans once again, now floating a new proposal. Now, this would fund the government for the next 30 days with some spending cuts, create a debt commission, and also enact stricter border policies. The only problem is that is a non-starter for Democrats over in the Senate, and it's unclear if it's even enough to win over the hard-right conservatives that he needs in the House.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey folks, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the things I've been hearing a lot from people lately is the concern about the dollar crashing. And you'll see this out there on the internet all over the place, articles written about it. And the idea is that the Russian and Chinese, those countries are looking at getting together and creating their own currency that will compete against the US dollar as a reserve currency. Now, for many, many decades, there have been other currencies that have been trying to vie for that status. And there's a possibility that you're going to have some that are going to encroach on that a little bit. But is it that big of a thing to worry about? Well, number one, last year the Chinese currency made up very little of any kind of world trade, number one. But what is it that's really going on underneath the surface? A lot of it is trying to sell you newsletters and investments that you probably ought to stay away from. For example, one of the things I see is, well, you ought to buy gold because the dollar's going to crash. And you see all of these commercials out there, and I say, well, wait a minute, wait. They're trying to get you to buy gold with your what? They're looking to take your dollars. If they really believe what they're saying, why would they take your dollars for their gold? Number one. Number two, how do you protect yourself against these valuation changes in various currencies? Well, let me explain it this way. Let's say that you had a currency called the clam. Okay, and you had a country that had one clam and you could exchange it for $1 at any one point in time. Let's say that that's the case. And you had a widget that was sold by this country and you could buy that widget in that country for one clam. So you take your $1, you exchange it for a clam, and then you got your widget. Now what if the dollar weakens? Well, what happens, now this clam is the same, right? Nothing different here. It's the same deal. But instead of $1, now it takes $2 to get the clam. Now, what happened? Your widget just doubled in price from your perspective as an American. Well, how do we use this to our advantage? As an investor, we want to make sure that we don't just myopically only focus on U.S. stocks. And that's a big mistake investors made from 2000 through 2010 and other periods in history, in the 1970s, the late 1980s, and so on and so forth. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we have good international diversification, because if the dollar weakens, then those international investments go up in value. So it's very, very important to know how globally diversified you really are as an investor. You want to learn more? Call us up for a free 15-minute consultation at paulwinkler.com, and we'll walk you through what we do and see if we can be of help to you, the investor out there that is so often being sold things that they really don't need to be buying.
9:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Chris Hand. If you're joining us on Super Talk TV, you see the Trump mugshot has made a triumphant return behind me. However, it's been vandalized. Find us on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter. Watch the live stream, and you can see the vandalism that happened here at the Super Talk studios. I used to think this was a place for fun-loving freedom enthusiasts, but now I understand that there are snakes in the grass, and they will vandalize your personal property. What's next, guys? Is the Gadsden flag that I brought in, is that too patriotic? Is that going to be vandalized next? A lot of people weighing in on the super text line. Our friend, said John in Lawrenceburg, he said we need to get a special counsel. we need a special counsel to find out what happened. And he said, never mind, we don't have that kind of time. We just need an indictment. There will be indictments. There will. People are thinking it might be Mandis.
Mandis.
I had it up really high.
Yeah, I don't think
He would have had to stand on the chair. Somebody said maybe it was Brian Wilson. I'll have to check the tape. But I believe he was in Watertown yesterday. That doesn't mean it wasn't Chris Webber.
Ooh, part of the drive team, yes.
Yeah. Who else was part of the drive team? Mac?
They got one really good-looking guy back there doing news. I can't remember his name.
Is he good-looking?
Yeah, he's very...
Is he?
He's charming.
Interesting. I've heard nothing.
I'm no snake.
I've heard nothing like that about him. Pamela Fur texted me and said, for the record, I've not been near the studio for weeks. So she's been eliminated from the suspect list. However, that sounds like something that somebody who came in to vandalize something might say.
Oh, I haven't been there.
Pamela Fur is also very short.
Yep, be tough for her to get up there, too.
It would. Maybe it wasn't Pamela. We will get to the bottom of this. We will. All right, it's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, at the border, I want to know your thoughts on this. Governor Greg Abbott has officially declared an invasion at our border. He says, we've deployed the Texas National Guard, DPS, and local law enforcement. We are building a border wall, razor wire, and marine barriers. We are also repelling migrants. Now, he doesn't say what repelling migrants means. I'm not sure it means what we think it means. I would be willing to bet that it's not anything violent. I would be willing to bet it would be a polite, please turn around. Please go home. We're full. Much like we say in Rutherford to Davidson County people trying to move in. Please, we're full. We're full. But why is this happening now on the border? Why not 3 years ago? Why not 10 years? Why not 3 decades ago? The border has been an absolute problem since I was a young child, since before I was even born. But what's the next move? You know, Greg Abbott also tweeted out that Texas installed razor wire in Eagle Pass to stop illegal crossings. Now, Eagle Pass, I mean, you have to feel for the residents there. Eagle Pass apprehended 7,000 migrants in the past 3 days, according to sources operating within U.S. Customs and Border Protection. That includes approximately 3,000 migrants crossing yesterday morning. So that number's gone up. Unbelievable, unsustainable. 7,000 migrants in 72 hours, reports Breitbart. And something needs to be done. So the Texas governor seems to be doing something. Is it just political theater? What do you think? Call me, 615-737-9986, or jump in on the super text line, 615-737-9986. Why is this happening now? Why not 3 decades ago? And Greg Abbott is saying that Texas installed razor wire in Eagle Pass to stop the illegal crossings. And yesterday, the Biden administration cut that wire. opening the floodgates to illegal immigrants. Why is the Biden administration actively sabotaging the southern border, actively undermining Texas? Greg Abbott responded, said he immediately deployed more Texas National Guard to repel illegal crossings and install more razor wire. Okay, I mean, it all sounds good. But what's the next move for Biden? He sent the Department of Homeland Security to cut the wire. Texas deploys the National Guard to put it back. So what's the next move? Does Joe send the Department of Homeland Security to reinstall the razor wire again? And if that happens, does Texas cut the razor wire again? How many times are we going to go in that circular motion? And at what point does Texas officials get fed up and say no, and we have a standoff between DHS and Texas? And if we have a standoff between DHS and Texas, what could that spark? I've often thought that a civil war could start in this country by ways of officials disagreeing. You know, if there's a federal ban, and I often thought it would be abortion would be the linchpin issue. I thought if there's a federal ban on abortion and a state wants to continue with abortion, and you know, we have a Republican president who sends in federal officials to stop it, and you're in a sanctuary city and liberal officials are there and they say no, and you know, people start arresting each other, that could kick off a crisis. Could we see that down at the southern border? I don't think it's unrealistic. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities, especially when the Biden administration is cutting the razor wire to open the floodgates to illegal immigration. And Texas is being immediately deployed to reinstall the razor wire. What happens next? How is this sustainable? I mean, it's not sustainable. You can see it just from the simple fact in New York City. A portion, a tiny, tiny portion of illegal immigrants were sent to New York City. And New York City, with all the money, all the funding, all the tax revenue, has been pushed to the breaking point. To the point where the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, is starting to sound like one of those right-wing extremists saying we need to fix the border. They can't afford it. They don't have the infrastructure. It wasn't a problem when it was happening in Texas all these years. And the Biden administration wants it to continue to be Texas's problem. Well, Greg Abbott seems fed up. Is it just political theater, though? We have elections coming up. Is he doing the bare minimum? Or do you think Greg Abbott is doing what needs to be done, albeit late? What do you think? 615-737-9986. Jason texted in, I realize the guys on the ground are just following orders, but they are real POSs for cutting that fence. You know, the Nazis were just following orders. At what point do following unconstitutional illegal orders become your issue? I'm all for supporting law enforcement. I'm all for supporting, back the blue, all that kind of stuff. But at what point does just following orders not become an excuse? 7662 said, we should just go to war with Mexico. Take over, make them a new state. That way all the illegals can stay there and rebuild. Listen, I don't want war. I don't want war at all. But I do think that this is unsustainable. And I also think that when you have all these illegal immigrants coming in, the brain drain on these third world countries is real. They're losing people that could help in those countries. 6890 texted in, said, arrest the Department of Homeland Security people, charge them with destruction of government property, and then send DHS a bill. If not, sue the crap out of them for it. But if you do arrest them, that's going to become an issue. You're going to have the feds versus the state. that becomes a real problem. A real problem. Frank and Bethpage, you have a comment on Greg Abbott. Frank, what's your thoughts on this new order that Greg Abbott has passed?
Oh, absolutely. Along the lines of what you're talking about, it's not sustainable. The whole process of everything going on from Biden administration is unsustainable, and I don't know what their final end game is unless it's to so swamp and deplete this country of its resources that you turn this into a third world nation. They're a third world country, and then you've got control over everybody like they did during COVID, which the government loved, telling you what to do, when to do it, what masks to wear, and everything else. And they're just power hungry. So,
do you think that Greg Abbott is doing this for the right reasons, or do you think he's doing this for political theater?
I don't know Greg Abbott as far as political theater, but I think it's he needs to fight back, and he's on the front line. So I don't know what other options he has, because the government is certainly not doing anything to help him out or help any of the southern states out. Nothing.
But do you think it's a little bit late for Greg Abbott to be getting off the bench and into the game in this area?
Yes, but I don't know. It's not a tough question or not tough. It's a tough situation, and I don't know. There's so much going on in Washington, and some people, it's like that. You got a smile on one side of your face and a frown on the other, and it's hard to tell in some cases. But
no, you're absolutely right. Thanks for the call, Frank.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you, man. Yeah, thanks for listening. I got a text from our friend Tim. He said it takes bold men to stand against unjust laws, and we're running very short on bold men. You're absolutely right, Tim. I mean, it seems like just following orders is, the new status quo. I'm just doing what I'm told. I'm a dad of 4, and I often have if your friend jumped off a bridge, would you do it? Just following orders. Seems like a load of bovine scatology, as the late great Uncle Phil would say. 2652 texted in, said, when you're directed to do something unlawful, still unlawful. Yep. 0348 texted in, said, in every law enforcement procedural manual, SOP manual, and I've reviewed a few, it specifically states you do not have to follow an unlawful order. Well, they're following them, and I want to know what you think about it. Call me, 615-737-9986, or send in a text. We'll read them on the air. It is 9:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Staffing issues gets the blame for letting an accused killer go free. Change at the top of Fox News and movement towards ending the Hollywood double strike. These stories and more coming up at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is 9:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joe, who's a truck driver, lived in Texas. You have a comment on the border situation. Joe, what's up? You're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, man?
Hey, Chris, how are you doing today?
Good, sir. How are you?
Man, you got a conspiracy on your hand. I think they were all involved in disrespecting your mugshot, bro.
And everybody was part of it.
Yeah, Pamela called Matt. Matt called Mac. They all hooked it up. And then Dan Mendes, they got it down off the wall for him, and he's probably the artist. They done hooked you up, man. They got you cornered. Anyways, the comment on the border is I lived out there for 22 years. I'm from Tennessee. My wife was from Texas, and they've been fighting this. My prediction would be that before Biden gets out of office, he's going to sign amnesty for all of them, everybody that's coming across the border. And they're a bunch. I drive a truck, and I go down to El Paso, Laredo. Those border towns are destroyed at this point. You can't even order food if you don't speak two languages. My question to you, he sent those people to other places, Martha's Vineyard, Chicago, New York. He's tried to give them a taste of what he's going through. What would you have him do with the state of affairs right now with the DOJ and the two separate levels of justice? Greg Abbott will get arrested if he goes down there with armed guards. And what do they do if they do arm the National Guard when the cartels start shooting at them? I mean, they've already done that too. They're bold. You're absolutely right. They have shot at Border Patrol agents. I mean, I would do everything under my power in the law. I would start arresting people. One texter put it out, destruction of government property, and it's a no-win. Right. It's a no-win situation. It's a tough place to be. But as far as Greg Abbott goes, I do feel like a little bit of this is political theater. I mean, the letter that he tweeted out last night was dated November 16th, 2022. And he tweeted out this letter as a point of reference, but bro, like, how much have you done? I know you put the floating barriers in, but your state has been a train wreck at the border for so long that it's without a doubt. It's been going on for years. Like I say, 22 years out there. They give them amnesty every 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years. They'll let them. Obama did it. I think even Clinton did it. He signed amnesty with the NAFTA trade agreement and all of that. I mean, it's a never-ending thing. I mean, at what point do we raise arms, bear arms against it? And I don't know. I mean, there's not really an answer. And I've got friends that have gone across the border and married and brought them back and done it legally and done that kind of stuff. And I believe, like everybody else, there's lots of room in America if you do it right. Come over here, let's vet them. And the Mexican people, Spanish people are hardworking individuals. I mean, they really are. They do jobs that nobody else wants to do, and they roof houses, pick vegetables. But there again, we're falling into the matrix of the elites, and everybody else is a slave to the system, yourself included, me. I mean, we all pay taxes, and nothing gets done with what our tax money that we would choose to spend our money differently than what they're spending it. Our representatives aren't spending it properly. The senators aren't voting for it to be the laws to be set the way they're supposed to. Where do we go before it does? It's going to have to reach a boiling point, Chris. Yeah, we're getting to that boiling point, and thanks for the call, Joe. I really appreciate it, man. I like your input. Yeah. I like your insight. I'm not one to advocate or actively say that people need to take up arms, but I do think that Greg Abbott should absolutely use every power under the law to fix the problem. And I fear that this latest stunt from Greg Abbott just feels like it's a little bit too little, too late. 10:01 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here's Ken Weaver with the news.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Couple of crashes to tell you about right now. 40 eastbound at the Church Street exit. You got the right lane blocked. And then 24 westbound in Whites Creek. A vehicle fire has the right lane blocked. Right now in Indiana, authorities in Marion County locked in a manhunt for suspected killer Kevin Mason after officials say a clerical error allowed him to walk out of a local prison a little over a week ago. Here's Trevor Alt.
Investigators say the 28-year-old walked out of jail on his own 8 days ago, all because of a clerical error. He served just 2 days behind bars before his accidental release. The sheriff points to staffing shortages as a possible cause of the error that led to Mason's release.
Sheriff says Mason's girlfriend gave him a ride. He hasn't been seen next. Changes at the top of Fox News.
Rupert Murdoch began his career owning newspapers in his native Australia. He expanded his empire first to New Zealand, then the United Kingdom, and ultimately the United States, where he created Fox in the 1980s and the Fox News Channel in 1996. His empire's worth billions, and he's exerted significant influence over global politics. Fox says the 92-year-old will remain as chairman emeritus of both Fox and News Corporation. His 52-year-old son Lachlan will continue as the CEO of Fox and take over as chairman of News Corporation.
That's Brian Clark reporting. After a slight uptick to start September, claims for unemployment benefits took a dive last week. According to the Labor Department, 201,000 initial claims for jobless benefits were filed in the week that just ended. That's 20,000 fewer than the week before. The more stable 4-week moving average also fell by more than 7,700. Weekly benefits claims are seen as an indicator of layoff activity across the economy. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're talking about the crisis on the border. Greg Abbott has declared an invasion, deploying Texas National Guard and really ramping things up down there as we're seeing just record illegal alien crossings at the southern border. There was 7,000 migrants caught crossing into Eagle Pass, Texas in 72 hours. That number's undoubtedly gone up. That was as of Wednesday morning. Unbelievable stuff. Meanwhile, New York says that they're falling apart when just a fraction of illegal aliens have been sent to their doorstep. I'm old enough to remember when these sanctuary cities would call Texas racist for not letting illegal aliens in. But here we are today, and Kathy Hochul hops on CNN to basically sing a different tune and say, you know what, guys, sorry, we're full in New York City.
You have to be certain that you're not going to take support a policy that's going to draw more people, because places like New York really are at capacity. We have large hearts. You want to be generous and supportive to people who are experiencing humanitarian crisis, but there is a limit to what we can do.
There is a limit to what we can do. I'm old enough to remember that conservatives have been saying that for decades, and we were vilified for having that kind of stance. Vilified. Monsters. Heavens. And then when conservatives do go down to the border, and we do try to do something positive, we do try to do something that nets goodwill, we get demonized for that too. Do you remember on September 11th, we talked about the Great American Cleanup? There's a guy that goes around every year on September 11th and finds somewhere to clean up. He removed tons of trash from Baltimore. In the past few years, he would go down to the border to clean up, what's happening at these border towns, because as these migrants cross, they cross through the river, and then they discard their wet clothes to put on new clothes. And they discard their IDs, they discard their medications, their drugs, they discard everything that they have. Because of that, you have trash city, just mountains of trash. So there's a guy that goes around on 9/11, and he cleans up these border areas. It's called the Great American Cleanup. He does it every year on 9/11, just to remind you a little bit about that.
Here I am with John Rourke at the U.S.-Mexico border for the Great American Cleanup. John, tell us why we're here, what we're doing, and why you're doing this.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. I do this every year on 9/11. September 11th, I don't want America to forget about all the people that we lost on 9/11. 2,977 souls perished, and obviously more than that after the fact. So I like to bring awareness back to 9/11. So I do this every year in a different town throughout America. The list will be the 4th cleanup I've done. The last 3 have been in border towns.
So he goes around every year on 9/11 and cleans up, different towns, and the last 3 were in border towns. Well, yesterday, or a couple days ago, we found out that after he cleaned up that border town, he donated $15,000 to Texas border town law enforcement. Well, guess what? A Democrat judge blocked that $15,000 donation. So this is a story from the Post Millennial. The Great American Cleanup picks a different town every year to clean up. Lately, they've been selecting border towns. As they do that, they honor local law enforcement who deal with the border crisis every day, and the group donated money to help them continue work and strengthen their communities. And this year, after they cleaned up Brownsville, Texas, they presented the local law enforcement there with a check for $15,000. Well, Judge Eddie Trevino claims that cleaning up the border is a political stunt, and he won't let the law enforcement officials cash the check. So even when we try to do something positive, Democrats are there to thwart it. Steve, who's driving on 440, you have a comment on the situation in Texas. Steve, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Steve?
How are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good, Chris. First time to reach out to you. I've talked to a variety of the hosts in the past. Regarding Abbott, he continues to escalate his response. And, from a political perspective, that's all he can do. He had the floating pontoons. Now he's got the hold on, I'm trying to not miss the airport. Now he's got the razor wire. So, and he's doing the best he can.
No, you're right. I will give him credit for actually doing something. Thanks for the call, Steve, and good luck getting to the airport. But, Greg Abbott, good luck fixing the border. He's actively being sabotaged by the Department of Homeland Security, who are going down there and cutting the razor wire that is being used to repel the migrants. And I hate saying migrant. I just feel like I'm falling victim to the left's ploy to dominate the language. They're illegal aliens. Sorry about that. Sorry. Donna in Columbia, you've been waiting on hold patiently. Thank you so much, Donna. You have a comment on what's happening in Texas. Donna, you're on Super Talk 99.7. What's up?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
You know, it's really simple. We have a one-page document that tells us what we need to do, and if any elected official who swears an oath to uphold our U.S. Constitution fails to do that, they can be removed. This is an invasion. This is not a political theater. This is an outright invasion. So, you know, why don't we treat it like it is? There's 250 terrorists that my representative, Andy Oakles, clearly pointed out last week that has been captured through this illegal alien invasion at our southern border. So it's an act of war on our country when we allow this to happen. And any elected official, whether it's a judge or a legislator or a governor who allows this to happen, is complicit and should be impeached and removed. But thanks for bringing up this topic.
Hey, thanks for the call, Don. I appreciate it. And you're absolutely right. Andy Ogles does call it invasion. And as this is happening amid new border strains, Biden is extending legal status to 470,000 Venezuelans who entered the United States by July 31st. You know, Andy Ogles just tweeted this article out from the Washington Post. He says, next thing we know, he's going to be extending voting rights to non-citizens. And then there's at least 5.8 million new voters. I would argue that's probably a lot more. But Andy's been down on the border. He posted a video. We retweeted it on our accounts, 99.7 WTN, just showing absolute holes in the border wall. Holes that the Biden administration has created to make illegal entry easier, further threatening our national security, as Andy Ogles says. And he was down there on the border. Firsthand experience. Not just seeing a video on TV, not just seeing, a viral news clip. He was down there, and he said that there's holes that have been cut in the border wall by the Biden administration. Crazy. Bill in Manchester, you have a comment on the border crisis. Bill, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Bill? Hey, Bill, you're on Super Talk. What's up?
Oh, okay. It's been on my mind ever since Biden's been in there with this open border. I was just curious if anybody knew how much the Bidens and possibly the Democratic Party is getting for each individual they let into the United States. I wonder how much cartels are paying them to keep our border open. And that's all I got to say about it.
Well, I don't know how much money they're receiving or if they're receiving any, but I do know that they're looking forward to one vote from each of them. Thanks for the call, Bill. I really appreciate you checking in on the Chris Hand Show. It seems like that's what this is really about, is votes. It's votes. And again, just to point out that story that Andy Ogles tweeted about 3 hours ago, Department of Homeland Security offering work permits, deportation protection to over 470,000 Venezuelans amid new border surge. The Biden administration announced yesterday that it will be offering hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan migrants, illegal aliens already in the U.S., including those in the country illegally, work permits and protections from deportations, just as numbers are skyrocketing at the southern border. Officials announced a new move to redesignate Venezuela for temporary protected status, which would allow migrants to apply for deportation protections and work permits if they've arrived for a certain date. The latest extension will see TPS extended for 18 months and applies to nationals who are in the country on or before July 31st. Venezuela was last extended but not redesignated for TPS in 2022, meaning it was not open to new applicants. So they're looking for new voters, right? That's what they're doing. So heartwarming. It's heartwarming, Got to help these people out. Let's go to David in Hendersonville. You have a comment on the border. David, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, David? Yo, David, you're on Super Talk. What's up?
Hey, you got that, Chris?
What's that?
I didn't know if you had me or somebody another David.
No. It's you. It's you, man. What's up?
Well, this border deal, we're just, as a country, we're sitting back and letting this administration destroy our country. Literally. I mean, literally destroy our country. We have, as the lady said earlier, a one-page document that gives us the right to put an end to it. And if we don't, man, your kids, you've got 3, 4 young kids.
Yes, sir.
Their future, dude, they won't have a future. If we do not do something about it, they're not going to have a future.
No,
Our 7 grandkids,
that's
7 grandkids,
yep.
They're not going to have a future.
No, and that's kind of why I'm doing this. It's not even for me. It's for my kids. Thanks for the call, David. But, we are seeing Greg Abbott saying that he's going to do something, declaring an invasion on the southern border, deploying Texas National Guard. Do you feel like that's enough? Do you feel like that's political theater? I mean, just yesterday, the Biden administration cut the razor wire, opening floodgates to more illegal immigrants. Greg Abbott says he immediately deployed Texas National Guards to repel illegal crossings and install more razor wire. But Greg Abbott, it seems like every time he does something, he's getting sued for it. Or Department of Homeland Security is actively sabotaging his measures to protect the southern border. Stephanie McMinnville, you have a comment on the border. You're on Super Talk. What's up, Stephanie?
Hey, so I have a little bit of a nefarious theory on why people are going lock and step with what this administration wants them to do.
I love some good theories. Hit me.
So I'm thinking that it's probably threat of loss of job. Like, you either do what we tell you to, or you're never going to work in this town again, or threat of family. Like, hey, you want your children missing, or threat of family. I have a feeling that is why a lot of people are doing what they're doing, because, they're going after their families.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I could vibe with the job part. I don't know if people are having their families threatened over following these policies. But in a sense, if you're threatening somebody's job, you theoretically are threatening their family. And their livelihood. Thanks for the call, Stephanie. I really appreciate you. And I always appreciate a good theory. I do.
Oh, yeah. Bring the theories to the Chris Hand Show, of course.
This is the theory show. I mean, we know about politicians. We know about blackmail rings. We've all gone down the Epstein Island rabbit hole. We understand people in power sometimes have things over their head. Even Russell Brand. You look at what's happening to him right now. Did he do those things? Did he not do those things? Well, it seems like they only went after him for it once he came to the right side of things. But were those accusations there before and he was just being protected? Maybe. I don't know. It seems like anybody with a big microphone or a big platform does have skeletons in their closet, and you get out of line and you're punished for it. I don't know. It's not far-fetched. I don't know if that's what's happening right now. We do have the right to stop it. Greg Abbott is saying that he's sending Texas National Guard down to the border. But is it too little too late? 7,000 migrants crossed into Eagle Pass, Texas in 72 hours. 3,000 crossing Wednesday morning. I mean, unreal. Terry, Cedric, Trace, Joe, I see you guys hanging on the line. We'll get to your calls next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Got a manhunt underway in Indiana after an accused killer was mistakenly released from jail early. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hopes his meeting with Congress today leads to more weapons and money to fight Russia. Traffic problems in Nashville, Whites Creek, 24 westbound. The right shoulder blocked by a stalled tractor trailer there at Old Hickory Boulevard. And then the South Loop looks like a crash, right lane blocked, 40 westbound at 65 South. All these stories and more coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
10:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A quick update on Mugshot Gate.
Mugshot Gate.
That's what we're calling it. Just in case you're tuning in, I brought in a wonderfully framed mugshot of Donald Trump. It has been vandalized. I have my suspects. And you know who's gone to the top of the list on suspects?
Who's that?
Matt Murphy. Matt Murphy. He tweeted out 7 minutes ago, "This is shameful, Chris Hand on Air. I will assist you in getting to the bottom of this dastardly act." The man said dastardly. And I was kind of like, all right, Matt's on my side. And then he said dastardly.
Dastardly.
So I tweeted back at him. I said, very suspicious.
Very sus.
Very sus. All right. Also suspicious is what's happening down on the southern border. The government of the United States versus the local state government of Texas. Seems like a grudge match to me. Greg Abbott puts razor wire on the border. DHS cuts open the razor wire. What? Why? Why would DHS do that? Alejandro Mayorkas, what's up, bro? Why would you cut open the razor wire? Seems like that's the exact opposite of what your job is. Is that just me? Terry in Watertown, you have a comment on the border. What's your thoughts on the current border crisis? Terry, you're on Super Talk.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, Terry.
All right. Brian Wilson, we need to send him back across the border. He's the one that vandalized your picture. No, I'm just kidding. The border thing, what you said was true. It's been going on for decades now, for years. And the whole thing yesterday, I'm an independent. I wouldn't vote for either party right now. I'm like a third party, like you said yesterday. The whole thing is we spent 8 hours yesterday talking about Hunter Biden's gun freaking charge, and you said it true yesterday, that if that was your son, you'd pardon him, and that's what will happen anyway. But the whole thing, how can I get elected if I help the party? Neither party will ever agree to sit down and talk about the border crises, because if we fix it, I can't bitch about the Democrats. And if Republicans in, I can't bitch about the Republicans if we fix it. So the two parties need to sit down and work together on something. I mean, we got inflation, we've got everything, and all we want to talk about is child care or abortion or the border. Let's sit down and work together.
Yeah, I mean, as far as far-fetched,
how many years has this been going on?
But as far as far-fetched ideas go, sitting down and working together seems like one of them.
Yes, and that's a far-fetched idea. Isn't it?
It seems like a pipe dream. I wish it were true, but
it's been that way for years. That's why you said something yesterday. I believe it was. I was listening, and I think you said you were an independent or a libertarian or whatever.
No, that's Murphy.
And,
I'm pretty hardcore conservative.
I'm conservative.
Yeah, but I'm hardcore. You know what I mean?
Okay, but I just don't trust either one. Just like yesterday, Buck, Republican, conservative, well, maybe you don't consider him conservative, out of Oklahoma or whatever. In that hearing yesterday, he even said it. If Attorney General had got rid of Weiss, they'd bitch about him because Trump appointed him. If he didn't do it, we're going to bitch about him. We're in a no-win situation with either party. I'm fed up with both.
No, hey, I'm fed up. I'm fed up with both too, and I absolutely agree with you, Terry. Thanks for the call. Republicans these days are just as trash as Democrats these days. It seems like you got a handful of good Republicans, and the rest are absolute trash. Absolute trash. I can't disagree with you. Just a mountain of trash.
So you'd consider yourself pretty conservative?
I'm conservative. I wouldn't consider myself a Republican. Hardcore conservative, but not Republican. That's a trash label. What does Republican even mean anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Ken Buck says he's a Republican, and he goes on TV and he says there's no evidence, and he wants to. Ken Buck is a Republican out of Colorado. He says he wants to get a job on CNN. Adam Kinzinger was a Republican. Liz Cheney's a Republican.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trash label. The Republican Party is slowly becoming a trash party. I'm hardcore conservative. Republicans are just steamy piles of, Time for the news. 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. And right now in Indiana, 28-year-old suspected killer Kevin Mason is on the run. He was accidentally released from a Marion County prison 8 days ago. The sheriff called it a clerical error stemming from a staffing issue inside the prison. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hopes his meeting this morning with lawmakers on Capitol Hill leads to more aid in his country's fight against Russia. The Biden administration is asking for $24 billion. That's $24 billion more for Ukraine. Elsewhere in our nation's capital, Fox 17 says a resolution filed in Congress looks to place a cap on the age for federal elected officials. Michigan Republican Congressman John James seeks to block anyone from being elected president, vice president, senator, or representative if at any time during the term that person will be 75 years or older. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey folks, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the things I've been hearing a lot from people lately is the concern about the dollar crashing. And you'll see this out there on the internet all over the place, articles written about it. And the idea is that the Russian and Chinese, those countries are looking at getting together and creating their own currency that will compete against the US dollar as a reserve currency. Now, for many, many decades, there have been other currencies that have been trying to vie for that status. And there's a possibility that you're going to have some that are going to encroach on that a little bit. But is it that big of a thing to worry about? Well, number one, last year, the Chinese currency made up very little of any kind of world trade, number one. But what is it that's really going on underneath the surface? A lot of it is trying to sell you newsletters and investments that you probably ought to stay away from. For example, one of the things I see is, well, you ought to buy gold because the dollar's going to crash. And you see all of these commercials out there, and I say, well, wait a minute, wait. They're trying to get you to buy gold with your what? They're looking to take your dollars. If they really believe what they're saying, why would they take your dollars for their gold? Number one. Number two, how do you protect yourself against these valuation changes in various currencies? Well, let me explain it this way. Let's say that you had a currency called the clam. Okay, and you had a country that had one clam and you could exchange it for $1 at any one point in time. Let's say that that's the case. And you had a widget that was sold by this country and you could buy that widget in that country for one clam. So you take your $1, you exchange it for a clam, and then you got your widget. Now what if the dollar weakens? Well, what happens, now this clam is the same, right? Nothing different here, it's the same deal. But instead of $1, now it takes $2 to get the clam. Now what happened? Your widget just doubled in price from your perspective as an American. Well, how do we use this to our advantage? As an investor, we want to make sure that we don't just myopically only focus on U.S. stocks. And that's a big mistake investors made from 2000 through 2010 and other periods in history, in the 1970s, the late 1980s, and so on and so forth. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we have good international diversification, because if the dollar weakens, then those international investments go up in value. So it's very, very important to know how globally diversified you really are as an investor. You want to learn more? Call us up for a free 15-minute consultation at paulwinkler.com, paulwinkler.com, and we'll walk you through what we do and see if we can be of help to you the investor out there that is so often being sold things that they really don't need to be buying.
Hey, it's Chris Hand for Jeff Eddy's Efficient Heating and Cooling. You know, we're getting closer to winter. Fall is here. Is the first official day of fall right around the corner? I believe so. And with that comes these cold mornings where we're going to have to kick on the heat to get the chill out of the air. I do that so often. And if you're going to do that, like myself, you should get your heater serviced before you kick it on and find out it's not working. Call the guys at Jeff Eddy's Efficient Heating and Cooling to get it serviced for you. Because when you go to kick it on and it doesn't work, you're going to be like, man, I need an HVAC guy. And it can be so hard to find somebody you trust when it comes to these large home repairs. You got to know a guy that knows a guy. Well, you can trust my guy. Efficient Heating and Cooling. They're a small company with big service, and they have even bigger results. I trust Jeff and his crew to do what's right because they've proved it time and time and time again. So if you're looking to have your heater serviced, if your HVAC unit's malfunctioning, if you've already got a guy to come out and look at it, and you just need a second opinion, well, give Jeff Eddy and his crew a call. They'll walk you through every option scenario so that way you can make an informed decision. That's what it's all about, getting informed. Most companies don't want you informed. They're just going to pressure you to replace the system because they make more money that way. Well, that's not Jeff's style. Jeff is a good guy, honest guy, hardworking, and he just wants you to make the right decision. And with Efficient, they offer up to 18 months, same as cash financing on your next unit. They're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and an elite pro partner with Rheem. Go to efficienthvac.net for more. That's efficienthvac.net or call 615-784-4424. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Wrapping up this conversation on the border, I do have a couple people waiting on the line that have some comments on the current crisis on the border. Let's go to Cedric, who's hanging out in Kentucky. Cedric, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, man? Yo, Cedric.
Yeah, how you doing today, Chris?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, good. I just want to mention one thing right quick. Like you said, we don't know, you don't know who's coming in on that border. Back about 12 or 15 years ago, in Bowling Green, Kentucky, they found a whole family that were SEALs. They had everything that they needed to do whatever they needed to do in America. And I just wanted to ask the question, how could you stop them basically from coming in, you know, without violence? Because they've already proven that they've shown that if they come in numbers, you know, numbers can get them through. So, in other words, what I'm saying, if the governor sends 800 soldiers down there and you got 9,000 immigrants, I don't care how many guns you got, that's not going to stop them if they want to get through, right?
Yeah, the napkin math doesn't work on that. Plus, on the border being the border being as big as it is, 800. I mean, what does that do? You know,
I mean, people is, you know, the number is power. But I just want to give you this quote right quick from Edmund Burke. He said that evil will only prevail when good men, which you can use people to, do nothing.
I like it. Thanks for the call, Cedric. Really appreciate you, man. Yeah, I mean.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. You know, our border is our southern border is 1,954 miles. So the federal government's sending down 800 soldiers. That's one every 2.5, 3 miles. You know, so it's not gonna do anything. And they sent those 800 down for processing. They didn't send them down for anything really consequential. And I do fear that Cedric is right. Unless the military is authorized to do what militaries do, are anybody going to be afraid? No. I mean, they're still going to cross. They're still going to find their holes, and they're still going to be opening up that razor wire and getting in where they can fit in. Steven, who's out there driving a FedEx truck, you have a comment on the border. Steven, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Steve?
Hey, guys. What's going on?
Not much, man. How are you?
Good. Two things. Mac Murray's innocent. Matt Murphy is suspect. But anyway.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
On the border, I think some of your prior callers had a couple of good conspiracy theories, which I like that. The one with the malicious attack of the families. Now, they wouldn't do something like that, we would hope, but they would freeze accounts. They've done it to FBI, people and persons. They could threaten them with their livelihood and freezing accounts and stuff like that. So I can believe that's a possibility. And the other thing is, I think Abbott should talk about annexing Mexico and just call it Texaco. Let's just get it all over with. I think that's a good idea.
Let's just
That's
claim
all I had
ownership.
to say.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the call, and I value a good conspiracy theory as well. I do. Spoiler alert.
What?
Yeah.
You?
I know. I know that might be shocking. I do. But, I think that if you're not thinking about it, if you can think about it, it's a possibility, right? If it creeps into your mind, it's creeped into other people's minds as well. Evil people do evil things. It's not crazy to have a theory. Everything's a theory until it's proven. Jim, on line 2, you have a comment on the border. Jim, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Jim?
I'd like to comment on the border crisis. The last sentence in Supreme Law of the Land, our United States Constitution, says that the states can declare war without the consent of Congress because of invasion. All Governor Abbott needs to do is just start shooting these illegal immigrants, and they'll quit coming.
I'm not one to advocate for violence, and I don't think that war is hell. I don't know if that's the route to go, but I do think that Greg Abbott should do everything in his power to stop what's happening at the southern border. Thanks for the call, Jim. Really appreciate it. But advocating for violence, I don't want to see anybody lose their lives. War is hell, and declaring war will lead you down that path. But it's hard to not understand how people feel about this, because the government will look at you and they will lie and they will tell you that the border is secure. They will look you dead in the eye and they will tell you that the border is secure. And they know that we know they're lying, but it doesn't stop them. They will continue to tell you the border is secure. Everyone will. From Mayorkas to Biden to Harris, everyone tries to tell you that the border is secure.
It is my testimony that the border is secure.
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration.
We have taken unprecedented action over the past year and a half to secure our border.
And we have a process in place to manage migrants at the border. We're working to make sure it's safe and orderly and humane.
The border is closed.
We agree that the border is secure.
We're executing a comprehensive strategy to secure our borders.
They tell you the border is secure, but we know that they're lying. That they're fluent in lying. The border hasn't been secure since before the Biden administration took over. It was better under Trump, but it wasn't exactly sewn up. You know what I mean? It wasn't exactly a handled issue. And I think that there's more issues that's not even being discussed. Let's talk about tunnels underneath the border. That's a real problem. There's actually tunnels that have been discovered numerous times. Tunnels. So even if you have the border completely secured, you're not going to stop illegal immigration. Like it or not, we're a magnet in this country for people seeking out either economic relief or freedom. I think people should do it the right way. There was a caller on Murphy's show yesterday, a woman who was an illegal immigrant who nailed it. She said, I came in the right way, and if you're just going to let all these people in, can I have my money back? I thought that was so good.
Yeah, can I get a refund?
Yeah, so
it's a great
good.
call.
Great call. And it's so true. People that have immigrated here the right way, they hate this the most. And they know, just like us, they're new Americans, but they can tell liars when they see them, just like you and I. And this administration is lying when they tell us that the border is secure. Jeff, who's on line 2, you have a comment on the border. You're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Jeff?
Good morning, guys.
Hey, how are you, Jeff?
I'm doing well, thank you. Just a couple things. I really feel for the citizens of Texas and the governor. They are in a no-win situation. And I believe he's trying to do the right thing and best by his people. But where are these other governors? They could help support with their National Guard also. Texas is about one state out of 50.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at the other border states, right, if you're talking about New Mexico or Arizona, you got Governor Katie Hobbs, who isn't going to do anything, and then you got Governor Michelle Lucian Grisham in New Mexico, who's busy trying to strip her citizens of Second Amendment rights. So I don't think Katie Hobbs in Arizona or Michelle Grisham out of New Mexico are really hopping on the bandwagon to secure the border.
No, you're absolutely correct. But, like the state of Tennessee, we could help out Texas. Florida could. I mean, there's other states, red states, that could help out fellow red states, because it just doesn't protect Texas. It protects everybody. And I know you had a caller earlier talk, violence, and I spent over 20 years in military. Believe me, nobody wants violence and nobody lose their lives. But what do we have? 400 people, American citizens, dying a day from fentanyl overdose.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
There's people dying every day because of it.
Yeah, and that's a great point. We're actively losing Americans every single day because this border is wide open. Something has to be done. I do worry that if we get into a situation where Tennessee is sending National Guard to Texas to help repel migrants, and then Florida jumps in, it's like all of a sudden we're just staring down the barrel of a civil war.
Well, yes, and nobody wants that. And I've thought this through too. It's like a bad marriage at this point. Are the parties going to be happier being apart, or do we just? I mean, there's no compromise anymore in Congress.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that argument too. Is it better if we just have a peaceful separation? And I get people's thoughts on that, but then it's like a custody battle. Who gets the kids? Who gets the nukes? Who gets the points of entry? Who gets the ocean? You know what I mean? That's a no-win situation too. It's just a no.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's just that there's it's a no-win. It's a lose-lose. But how long are we going to continue as a country at this pace that we're currently on?
Well, I don't think we can continue at this pace much longer. We're looking at total epic destruction. Thanks for the call, Jeff. I really appreciate you listening, man. Thank you so much. I'm seeing a story now. It's like the deaths aren't just on our side, right? Like we're seeing Americans die from fentanyl every day. Like Jeff pointed out, 400 Americans. But this is actually a problem. Like just yesterday, a 3-year-old child drowned crossing the Texas border. A 3-year-old child. If they weren't incentivized to come here, that 3-year-old might still be alive. It was Eagle Pass. Border Patrol agents recovered the body of a 3-year-old migrant child who drowned while crossing the Texas border river with Mexico on Wednesday near Eagle Pass, Texas. A second migrant, an adult, drowned within 24 hours in the same area. The recovery of the second body is underway Thursday morning. Law enforcement officials told Breitbart, Texas, that a migrant couple crossing the Rio Grande on Wednesday got into trouble and could not remain afloat. Officials said the couples discarded the 3-year-old child to save themselves. So sad. That 3-year-old child didn't ask for this. And the Biden administration, and they're incentivizing illegal aliens to cross. The Biden administration cutting razor wire in Texas so that way they can get across. The Biden administration putting a, vacancy sign on the border. Incentivize those people to come with that 3-year-old child. Was it even their 3-year-old child? Lord knows. Lord knows. Officials said the couple discarded the 3-year-old to save themselves. I tell you what I wouldn't do if it was my kid. I don't care where we're going. Nope. Hard pass. And any parent with their child would not discard them to save themselves. Are you kidding me? So I'm led to believe that those are coyotes using a child to cross the border and get asylum status. Officials said the couple discarded the 3-year-old to save themselves. I don't know. I don't know any loving parents that would ever discard their child to save themselves. Quite the opposite. A loving parent would sacrifice themselves for their child. But this is your border on Biden. This is what we're seeing every single day. And if it's not a 3-year-old child coming from Central America that's dying because coyotes are discarding them to save themselves in the middle of a river, well, it's a 3-year-old child in Nashville overdosing from fentanyl that's also coming in across the border. So sad, man. So sad. Dawn, Mary, David, I see you guys hanging on the line. I do still have Merrick Garland audio. I'll get to your calls next, and then we'll talk about Merrick Garland testifying before the House Judiciary Committee. That's all happening after 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Suspected killer on the run after a mistake let him out of jail early. Hear what Speaker Kevin McCarthy thinks after hearing the latest pitch for more money and weapons from Ukraine's president. And big changes may be coming at the top of Fox News. These stories and more at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Please say fire Paul Ryan. Please say fire Paul Ryan. Please say fire Paul Ryan. 10:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Hey, Grace in Nashville, you have a comment on living overseas as an American and what that immigration process is like. Grace, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up?
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm great. Thank you. Yeah, I just had a different perspective because no one ever talks about what we have to go through when we move to other countries. And I've lived in Thailand, and I've had to do the process in Taiwan as well, where I lived. And it's quite extensive. You know, you have to show a copy of your degree. You have to show proof of your college transcripts. You have to be sponsored by a company. You have to have a health check to get into these countries and be able to live legally. And I don't understand why these borders can just be open and be free for everybody else. And that perspective I've never heard on your air.
That's interesting. So you had to provide your college degree, your transcripts, your ID, but you flew in. You didn't sneak across a border.
That's correct. I actually was pre-approved prior to moving to either of these countries. I had to be sponsored by a company before I even moved there.
Interesting.
So
that's fascinating. So what do you think when you see the border and the shape that it's in?
Oh, it's upsetting beyond belief. Just not knowing who is in our country and the drugs and the criminals. It's frightening.
Hey, well, thanks for the call, Grace. And I really appreciate your perspective on that. You know, I don't think Thailand would put up with our border. As Grace said, they need a college transcript and a degree if you're an American, to move to a different country like Thailand. But and at our border, all you need to do is say, I claim asylum. Or just sneak in and hope you don't get caught. Seems like there's a lot of that, too. 10:59 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. When we get back after the news, we're going to talk about Merrick Garland and his testimony yesterday. It was a banger. It was a banger of a hearing, and I got audio. So hang out with us. We'll go over that next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here's Ken Weaver.
$11 o'clock on the dot. This Thursday morning, I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. And right now in Indiana, suspected killer Kevin Mason is on the run after he was mistakenly released from a Marion County prison 8 days ago, says Trevor Alt.
Investigators say the 28-year-old walked out of jail on his own 8 days ago, all because of a clerical error. Mason was arrested September 11th, charged in connection with a killing in June of 2021 in Minneapolis. He was finally apprehended nearly 2 years after the murder, but served just 2 days behind bars before his accidental release.
Yeah, the sheriff says Mason's girlfriend showed up at the jail and picked him up, and they haven't seen him since. Over in our nation's capital, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hopes his meeting this morning with Congress leads to more money and weapons to fight off Russia. Here's Jay O'Brien.
Over in the House, the question is, did President Zelensky change any minds and clear any paths for another supplemental aid package for Ukraine? I just asked Speaker McCarthy, who was inside that meeting. Well, he doesn't say if his mind's been changed, but he did say that the president answered a number of his questions.
The Biden administration asking for $24 billion more in aid for Ukraine. Might be changes coming to Fox News.
Fox announced 92-year-old Rupert Murdoch is stepping down as chairman of the board of Fox and News Corporation and will become chairman emeritus of both, effective at the November shareholder meetings for each company. His eldest son, 52-year-old Lachlan Murdoch, will assume the role of chair of News Corporation. That operates media properties around the world, notably the Wall Street Journal. Lachlan will also continue as executive chair and CEO of Fox. The elder Murdoch's decision ends a media career that began nearly 70 years ago in his native Australia.
That's Brian Clark reporting, and the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, thank you for all your calls talking about the border. I love you guys chiming in on the phone lines and the super text line. I say it all the time. I got Mac, I got Ken, but the most important person in this show is you. So thank you for being the fourth man in our crew. Anything you want to weigh in on, please weigh in on it. You know, Merrick Garland was testifying yesterday before the House Judiciary Committee. It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun, I got to say. It started out with Jerry Nadler. Let's start with Jerry Nadler. Jerry Nadler really made me giggle because he just started with, "Oh, poor Hunter."
Many commentators have noted that people accused of simple gun possession while under the influence of a drug, when that gun was not used in the commission of a crime, are rarely, if ever, prosecuted the way Hunter Biden is being prosecuted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, nailed it, Jerry. Nailed it. Poor Hunter. Nobody gets treated like this. He's being treated so unfairly. This is political persecution, you guys. It's all political. Don't Democrats hate guns? I don't understand. The guy's a crackhead and has guns and lies on background checks. Aren't they for more regulation? I don't know. Weird. When Merrick Garland finally got his chance to chime in, he did want to let everybody know that he is not, and I repeat, not the president's lawyer.
Our job is not to do what is politically convenient. Our job is not to take orders from the president, from Congress, or from anyone else about who or what to criminally investigate. As the president himself has said, and I reaffirm today, I am not the president's lawyer. I will add, I am not Congress's prosecutor. The Justice Department works for the American people. Our job is to follow the facts and the law, and that is what we do.
I don't know. He covers for the president all the time. He goes after political opponents of the president, for the president, and he says he works for the American people. I don't know, guys. Do you feel like Merrick Garland's doing a good job? If he's working for me, I would have fired him a long time ago. He doesn't feel like he's working at all. I don't think he's working. It's not working out. Good luck in your future endeavors.
It's working.
It's not, sir. It's not. I mean, but, you know, it was fun. Mike Johnson out of Louisiana, he went at Merrick Garland, and the answer that Merrick Garland has is so telling. So Mike Johnson says to him, have you had personal contact with the FBI about the Hunter Biden investigation?
Have you had personal contact with anyone at FBI headquarters about the Hunter Biden investigation?
I don't recollect.
Nailed it. Great answer. How did he not have that one prepared?
Yeah, that should have been rehearsed. You have that one written down. You know you're going to get asked it.
Like, he acted like it was a curveball. Oh, my gosh.
I don't recollect the answer to that question, but the FBI works for the Justice Department.
I don't recollect the answer. You don't recollect the answer? The one you came up with before the hearing? You don't recollect the answer.
I don't recollect the answer to that question, but the FBI works for the Justice Department.
I'm sorry. You don't recollect whether you've talked with anybody at FBI headquarters about an investigation into the president's son?
I don't believe that I did. I promised the Senate when I came before it for confirmation that I would leave Mr. Weiss in place and that I would not interfere with his investigation.
What a garbage answer. You don't recollect if you talked with anybody at the FBI about an investigation into the president's son? Hot garbage.
And he goes, I don't believe that I did. What do you mean?
It is the worst answer ever. Like, you should have come up with something, bro.
Anything.
Like, anything. Give me a lie. Give me a good lie. Something. You don't recollect if you've had the conversation.
I
don't recollect my answer. Oh, geez. All right. Thanks, Merrick. Mike Johnson, though, I really have grown fond of Mike Johnson out of Louisiana. He keeps hammering Merrick Garland. This is him asking about What about your discussions with Weiss?
Can you tell us about any briefings or discussions that you personally have had with Mr. Weiss regarding any and all federal investigations of Hunter Biden?
I'm going to say again, I promised the Senate that I would not interfere with Mr. Weiss.
So you have not, I'm just under oath today, your testimony is you have not had any discussions with Mr. Weiss about this matter?
Under oath, my testimony today is that I promised the Senate I would not intrude in his investigation. I do not intend to discuss internal Justice Department deliberations, whether or not I had them.
So his answer is, under oath, I will not answer. It reminds me of the Dave Chappelle sketch. He's like, I plead the fifth. Fifth. I plead the fifth. Thank you, Merrick. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So your testimony today is you're not going to tell us whether you've had discussions with Mr. Weiss.
My testimony today is I told the committee that I would not interfere. I made clear that Mr. Weiss would have the authority to bring cases that he thought were appropriate.
Okay.
Mr. Weiss's letter.
Okay, let me stop you. For a second time, sir. Are you aware that FBI officials have come before this committee and they have stated that there was a cumbersome bureaucratic process that Mr. Weiss had to go through to bring charges in another judicial district? You know that?
I'm not aware, but that's not true. There's nothing.
He said, I'm not aware, but that's not true. Solid. Nailed it.
There's nothing cumbersome about the process.
So those whistleblowers are lying to us under oath? Those whistleblowers are lying?
I can say that. Their description of the process is cumbersome is an opinion. It's not a fact question. All I have to do is sign a section.
Let me get to the fact. Mr. Weiss has been the lead prosecutor on the Hunter Biden case since 2018, correct?
I'm sorry?
Mr. Weiss has been the lead prosecutor on the Hunter Biden case since 2018. Now, here's the question.
He's been the lead prosecutor since he was appointed by President Trump.
Okay.
Oh, I knew that was coming. He's been the lead prosecutor since he was appointed by President Trump. You guys, have I mentioned Orange Man Bad? I would like that to be on the record. Orange Man Bad. Weiss was appointed by President Trump, mind you, sir. Oh, okay, thanks.
Appointed by President Trump.
Okay, why, let me ask you, why has the Justice Department dragged this investigation out for so long? Does it really take years to determine if Hunter Biden lied on a federal form related to purchasing a firearm?
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't take years. And our friend Mike C. 2460 pointed out that I failed to mention that Hunter Biden's girlfriend deposed of the Cobra 357 in a dumpster for anyone, even kids, to access. Yeah, I did miss that. Sorry, Mike, but Merrick Garland, he wouldn't have answered that anyway.
Mr. Weiss was a long-time career prosecutor. President Trump appointed him as the...
You're not answering the question. Is that standard procedure? Should it take that long to make such a simple determination?
Should it take that long, Mr. Garland, to make that kind of determination? Your answer, please.
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. Plead the fifth. Thanks.
I'm answering the question. Give me an opportunity to do so.
Okay.
He was charged with that investigation under the previous administration. He's continued. He knows how to conduct investigations, and I have not intruded or attempted to evaluate that because that was the promise I made to the Senate.
Merrick Garland keeps his promises, doesn't he? Such a good, honest man. We're lucky to have him for keeping his promises and not answering any questions for Congress. It's amazing. It's amazing. I really wish that he would just have answered it truthfully and given us the answer we all knew he was going to give us. Right, Mac?
Ask me a question. Did you? I have a secret document that I think you need to say.
Plead the fifth. Thank you. Thank you. Mike Johnson asked Merrick Garland about the whistleblowers as well.
The whistleblowers gave us testimony about serious misconduct at the Justice Department in regards to the preferential treatment afforded Hunter Biden. Has your office requested an investigation into that?
There are well-known processes for how whistleblowers make their claims. I am a strong proponent of whistleblowers and a strong defender. We have an Inspector General's office. We have an Office of Professional Responsibility. That is the way in which complaints from whistleblowers should be and are appropriately handled.
I like whistleblowers, but not those whistleblowers. Fair enough, sir. Fair enough. It was interesting though. Merrick went on to say that he's spoken to no one at the White House about the Hunter case.
No one that I know of has spoken to the White House about
the case. Yeah, thank you. And Matt Gaetz started hammering him, and he brought up all the shell companies that money has gone through. And I loved this. Matt Gaetz is an absolute beast.
the Hunter Biden case.
I'm wondering
Of course
that.
not.
Okay, I got it.
No one that I.
Here, right here.
Do you know about the money that moved through Rob Walker's shell companies? Yes or no?
As I have said repeatedly, I have left these matters to Mr. Weiss. I've not
Blissfully
intruded.
ignorant.
I've not interfered.
Blissfully
I've
ignorant
not
to these
tried to
things.
find out what
It's
he
like
knows.
you're looking the other way on purpose because everybody knows this stuff's happening. And you know what? People don't pay bribes to not get something in return.
Nailed it. It's like he was looking the other way because he knew something was happening. It reminds me of my Trump mugshot being vandalized in the studio when Mac was here and he looked the other way because he knew something was happening.
Hey,
I don't know.
Yeah, I understand what Gaetz is saying. It's so frustrating when
You
somebody
relate.
looks the other way when they know something's happening. But Merrick Garland definitely is looking the other way. He knows the shell companies are filtering money for the Bidens, and he just looks the other way.
Right? The China initiative resulted in the convictions of a Harvard professor, of someone at Monsanto. So we were working against the Chinese. They paid the Bidens, and now you're sitting here telling me that North Korea is the big threat. Do you know about the?
So yeah, he said you just look the other way, and then we find out ourselves that this stuff is happening. And he brought up the Harvard professor. There was an ex-Harvard professor that was sentenced and fined for lying about his China ties. Charles Lieber, 64, was charged and found guilty for lying to federal investigators about his ties to a Chinese-run science recruitment program and failing to pay taxes on payments from a Chinese university. And he was sentenced back in April. Then he brought up another gentleman from Monsanto, who was a Chinese national who pleaded guilty earlier this year to stealing trade secrets from agribusiness giant Monsanto while he worked in Missouri and has been sentenced to more than 2 years in prison. So, I mean, this is all stuff that we know. This is what happens when people take bribes. I like what Matt Gaetz did, though. He also brought up the art career of Hunter Biden. And this is one of my favorite clips from the entire hearing.
I got it. So Hunter Biden is selling art to pay for his $15,000 a month rent in Malibu. How can you guarantee that the people buying that art aren't doing so to gain favor with the president?
The job of the Justice Department is to investigate criminal allegations. You have information.
Are you investigating this? I mean, someone who bought Hunter Biden's art ended up with a prestigious appointment to a federal position. Doesn't it look weird that he's become this immediate success in the art world as his dad is president of the United States? Isn't that odd?
I'm not going to comment about any specific.
Not going to comment, not going to investigate.
Yep, not going to comment, not going to investigate, but it's true. Hunter Biden sold a painting to Elizabeth Hirsch Naftali, a Los Angeles real estate investor. This is from the New York Post and philanthropist. She bought one of Hunter's works, according to Business Insider. We've talked about this. And then Naftali, before buying this, was appointed by President Biden to the Commission for the Preservation of America's Heritage Abroad. She was appointed in July of 22. Now, it's unclear whether she bought the artwork before or after or how much she paid for it. But like we've said numerous times, if that's the deal, it doesn't matter when you bought it. If you're getting the appointment and that's the payment, even if it was purchased after the appointment, that's just plausible deniability. The fact that Hunter Biden is selling paintings for millions and then people that buy the paintings are being appointed by President Biden, doesn't that smell like influence peddling? And then Merrick Garland can't even look into it. He said his job is to look into criminal allegations.
Job of the Justice Department is to investigate criminal allegations.
I mean, I feel like that's a criminal allegation, don't you? Don't you think that would be something the Justice Department would want to look into? Well, not Merrick Garland's Justice Department. He doesn't look into that kind of stuff. The hearing yesterday was so telling about how much of a lowlife Merrick Garland is and how much in the pocket of the Biden administration he is. I mean, he didn't answer any questions. He deflected And he acted like he was doing the right thing the entire time. And then, left-wing media will cover this and say that he did a bang-up job. Politico reported Attorney General Merrick Garland squared off with House Republicans over the Hunter Biden probe. Squared off. Okay. Garland is appearing before the House Judiciary Committee as part of a routine oversight hearing, but Republicans are unsurprisingly focusing almost entirely on the Hunter Biden investigation. Oh, gee, you think? They act like Merrick Garland is some sort of victim here. No. The only victim is the American public. Politico goes on to say Garland largely deflected questions about details of the Hunter Biden inquiry while indirectly batting down allegations that he had meddled in the investigation into the president's son. Is that what it sounded like to you? That he was batting down these allegations? Does this sound like he's batting them down?
I don't recollect the answer to that question. But
yeah. What a strong man Merrick Garland appeared to be. But left-wing media will continue to cover for him. We have more audio from the hearing next. Anything you want to comment on it? 615-737-9986. Text or call. It's the Chris Hand Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Got a stalled vehicle blocking the way, 40 westbound at the Elm Hill Pike overpass. The right 2 lanes are blocked. President Biden's going to make an announcement and then sign another check over to Ukraine later today. Speaker Kevin McCarthy says progress is being made to fund the federal government another 30 days. That's coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. Looking forward to your newscast, as always. We're talking about Merrick Garland. The left-wing media says that he's painting him as the victim. He's batting down all these accusations from those evil Republicans. Classic left-wing mockingbird media. Fred, who's currently on I-65, you have a comment on Merrick Garland. What's up, Fred? You're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, Chris. I want to thank you and the guys. Y'all do a fantastic job. I tried to listen to all of the hearing yesterday, but my blood pressure got so high I had to quit. It's driving me nuts.
It's like,
I know you're a lot younger than me. I'll be 79 here next month, but you remember Hogan's Heroes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Sergeant Schultz?
Yep.
I know nothing. That was my whole thought. I got so doggone mad yesterday. My wife threatened to make me have to just go lay down and take a nap.
That's so
You're
funny.
absolutely right. The man is an idiot. I don't know if he's either, like some of the guys said, you're either incompetent or I forgot what the other term was that he used, but he's an idiot. I can't. It'd be like the CEO of Walmart says, I have no idea what happens in any of the stores.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Absolutely.
You guys are doing a great job, and
thanks,
thank
Fred.
you so much, and keep up the good work.
I appreciate it. I hope I don't get your blood pressure going too high today. I'm sorry if that happens.
Yeah, I'm on the way to get an MRI done right now in Nashville. This traffic's lovely. I just love it. But anyway, my blood pressure's already up.
All right,
Have a
man.
good one, buddy.
Hey, you drive safe. I appreciate you. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard not to have your blood pressure go up when the Attorney General says this.
I don't recollect the answer to that question, but
Oh, okay.
Exactly. Yes.
Seriously.
I don't recollect.
I mean, that's your answer? That's your answer. Jeez.
Porky Pig on us.
4924 texted in. He said, Garland should be locked up with no bail until he answers questions. Then give bail and charge him with obstruction. Yeah.
Bingo.
0727 texted in, said what we're all thinking. Thank God Garland didn't get appointed to the Supreme Court. Thank goodness.
Dodged a bullet.
Yeah. I mean, you look at what we've gotten from the Supreme Court with the 3 nominations from Trump, and, does Roe get overturned if Garland is on the Supreme Court? Probably not. Mike has a question. He says, why don't they bring up Bill Barr to testify? According to the timeline, he's just as guilty as Garland. Hey, bring Barr in. I'm absolutely with it. I'm absolutely with it. Bring them all in. I'm waiting for Uncle Jim and Hunter to be called up. That's what I think is going to be exciting. Uncle Jim especially. Hunter's had so much legal problems. He's probably got his story down. I don't think Hunter's going to have an answer like this.
I don't recollect the.
No, Hunter's got his prefabricated answers ready to go.
He knows how to lie.
Uncle Jim? I don't know. We'll see. I think that one is going to be the good one. 0469 says, please stop. My head is going to explode. I can't stand these idiots. All right, 0469, I'll give you a break for now, but we're going to have more audio from Merrick Garland on the way after Ken Weaver's newscast, which starts right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. And right now in our nation's capital, Karen Travers, tell us.
President Biden's expected to announce today a new security assistance package for Ukraine worth hundreds of millions of dollars. A U.S. official says it will include additional capabilities to help Ukraine strengthen its air defenses ahead of what they said is expected to be another brutal winter of Russian airstrikes against Ukrainian critical infrastructure sites. The package will also include capabilities to help Ukraine with its ongoing counteroffensive offensive, including artillery ammunition and anti-armor capabilities.
Speaker Kevin McCarthy tells reporters inside the Capitol progress continues to happen, and House Republicans are prepared to do what they can to keep the federal government running past the 30th.
I know it's not pretty, but this country's too great to quit on. And so what we are going to do, and remember what this is, it's not a CR. It's the funding of government for the next 30 days to get our work done.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey folks, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the things I've been hearing a lot from people lately is the concern about the dollar crashing. And you'll see this out there on the internet all over the place, articles written about it. And the idea is that the Russian and Chinese, those countries are looking at getting together and creating their own currency that will compete against the US dollar as a reserve currency. Now, for many, many decades, there have been other currencies that have been trying to vie for that status. And there's a possibility that you're going to have some that are going to encroach on that a little bit. But is it that big of a thing to worry about? Well, number one, last year the Chinese currency made up very little of any kind of world trade, number one. But what is it that's really going on underneath the surface? A lot of it is trying to sell you newsletters and investments that you probably ought to stay away from. For example, one of the things I see is, well, you ought to buy gold because the dollar's going to crash. And you see all of these commercials out there, and I say, well, wait a minute, wait. They're trying to get you to buy gold with your what? They're looking to take your dollars. If they really believe what they're saying, why would they take your dollars for their gold? Number one. Number two, how do you protect yourself against these valuation changes in various currencies? Well, let me explain it this way. Let's say that you had a currency called the clam. Okay, and you had a country that had one clam and you could exchange it for $1 at any one point in time. Let's say that that's the case. And you had a widget that was sold by this country and you could buy that widget in that country for one clam. So you take your $1, you exchange it for a clam, and then you got your widget. Now what if the dollar weakens? Well, what happens, now this clam is the same, right? Nothing different here. It's the same deal. But instead of $1, now it takes $2 to get the clam. Now, what happened? Your widget just doubled in price from your perspective as an American. Well, how do we use this to our advantage? As an investor, we want to make sure that we don't just myopically only focus on U.S. stocks. And that's a big mistake investors made from 2000 through 2010 and other periods in history, in the 1970s, the late 1980s, and so on and so forth. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we have good international diversification, because if the dollar weakens, then those international investments go up in value. So it's very, very important to know how globally diversified you really are as an investor. You want to learn more? Call us up for a free 15-minute consultation at paulwinkler.com, paulwinkler.com, and we'll walk you through what we do and see if we can be of help to you, the investor out there that is so often being sold things that they really don't need to be buying.
Hey, it's Chris Hand for Paul Winkler, Inc. I got 4 kids, me and my wife. We didn't have a financial plan for the future, but we got linked up with Paul and his team, and now we do. So I don't have those fears that I once had about possibly paying for college or weddings down the road. Hopefully the weddings. Maybe not the college, if we can avoid it. Send them to trade school, right? But with Paul and his team, all of that is a reality because now we have a financial plan. Now, I'm financially illiterate, but Paul and his team, they're super legit, and they hold themselves to a higher level of fiduciary standard than is required. Because of that, government regulators require that I tell you I'm paid every time this commercial airs, and that's fair. But it's because I got to sit down with Paul and have my financial questions answered honestly and in a way that I could understand it that I decided to become a client myself, and I'm impressed. Paul's a smart guy. He knows the financial world better than I do, and with Paul and his team, I say this all the time, nothing is done on commission. So you can be sure that when they tell you how to make financial decisions for you, the decisions are for you and not for them, because nothing is done on commission. He's made my financial goals far more realistic by explaining what to do and why. And again, I need that why. Their investment education is huge. It's evidence-based, backed by Nobel Prize-winning research, so you can tell it's honest, it's legit, and they explain it to you in a way that you can understand it. So check them out. Every office is run by a degree planner with over 20 years of experience, and you can feel the difference between Paul's team and the rest. That experience equals confidence. So do what I did. Talk to one of the team members today. Set up a complimentary 15-minute phone call right now on his website, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com, or call 615-851-1950. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, in Ken Weaver's newscast, they just said that the U.S. plans to announce a new aid package for Ukraine. It's exciting. You hype about that, Mac?
Yay.
The crowd goes mild. More money for Ukraine. How much money have we given Ukraine so far?
Yeah, looking it up right now. This was written 6 days ago, so this is about as updated as we can get without the new aid just approved. $135 billion.
Weird.
Whew. I mean, this was written 6 days ago because they had an additional $24 billion in aid approved just 6 days ago. So.
Oh, and now we're approving more.
Yep.
Still just going to wear the same sweatshirt, though. Awesome. I mean, you can't put that in the budget. Somebody texted in the other day, he said, well, all dictators just wear that same iconic outfit. I mean, think about it.
They got their one thing.
Yeah, Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do. Just they Doug Funny that thing. You know what I mean? Like cartoon character. Pick an outfit and stick with it. You know, I'm tired of forever wars. And I'm old enough to remember our last forever war. You know, and I pointed this out to Mac off the air. You know who was getting contracts to rebuild Iraq after our last forever war?
Make sure you're sitting down, folks.
Oh, it was James Biden. Uncle Jim. Weird. And, you know, Joe Biden was one of the first guys to push for the Iraq war. Weird. All these coincidences, right? This is from 2012. So let's go back in time. Right? 11 years ago. 2012, October. New York Post reporting that James Biden got a $1.5 billion contract to build affordable homes in Iraq. Yep. Okay. You know, it was weird. James Biden was in residential development, and the bursting of the real estate bubble took its toll on his business. But the Middle East business was booming. Uncle Jim got some good news. Not long after its housing subsidiary, they hired this housing subsidiary hired James Biden as an executive vice president in the late 2010. And just 6 months later, this company, Hill, got one of its biggest contracts ever, $1.5 billion to build at least 100,000 affordable homes in Iraq. A good deal for Hill, a relative newcomer to building homes. And for James Biden, who has one partner, will get a good share of that $1.5 billion. So the influence peddling has been happening for quite a while. You know, the housing market falls apart under Obama. And Uncle Jim, James Biden, gets a heck of a contract to build houses in Iraq. A forever war that was pushed by Joe Biden. Crazy, right? Crazy how history repeats itself. Now Joe is funding another forever war in Ukraine, and we are seeing, just destruction in Ukraine. And there's going to be big money in rebuilding Ukraine down the road. I wonder if Uncle James is going to be getting any of those contracts. Weird. Just coincidences. Just things I notice. Could be nothing. 4576 says, I believe I detect a hint of corruption around them Biden fellas. I don't know, man. It's a coincidence.
Come on, don't go putting on your tinfoil hat there, 4576.
Yeah,
Come on.
Don't go full conspiracy on us, okay?
It's a little far-fetched.
Yeah, let's not dabble in conspiracy theories, all right? It's not what we do here. Jeez.
1761 says 150 billion to Ukraine. They can't fund the government here.
Yeah, seriously. We're on the brink of a government shutdown. We have a wide open border. We have homeless veterans. We have just crime in every major city. And then, let's just give billions to Ukraine.
It's like when you make your own budget and you've got that leftover money where you can go buy that extra shirt that you wanted, or, maybe there's some tickets that I want. And then, when you don't have the money, you go, I can't do that. I got to save. Can't do that. It seems like we're that extra stuff.
Yeah.
We're not the stuff that goes first. The bills, the rent, the necessities.
No.
We're not that.
No, we're an afterthought. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet deal.
Sick.
Super dope.
I mean, it's hard to not laugh at this. But it's like we're laughing to keep from crying. 7527 texted in, said, Chris, you better hush. Are you fixing to wind up in the bottom of a river? I don't scuba dive, so I'm not worried about it. So, geez, And then meanwhile, we have the Merrick Garland hearing happening in the House Judiciary Committee yesterday. And there was some crazy stuff that happened. Troy Nobles out of Texas out of Texas. This guy plays the video of Joe Biden saying, son of a bee, he got fired for Merrick Garland, and then asks for his take on it. This is Troy Nobles right after he played the infamous video of Joe Biden bragging about having the Ukrainian prosecutor fired.
Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
Mr. Attorney General, what you just saw there was Joe Biden in his arrogance and role as the vice president in this country saying if you don't fire Shokin, the United States isn't given the $1 billion loan. Why would Joe Biden say that as the vice president? Why would he say such a thing? Was it policy? Was it our policy at the time? Yes or no? It wasn't. I have documents here.
I love that he doesn't let Merrick answer. So based. I'm a big fan of Troy.
Interagency Policy Committee dated October
Point of information,
15,
is the gentleman ever going to let the gentleman
I'm on my
answer
time,
question?
pipe down.
He said, Jerry Nadler jumps in to say, is he ever going to let the gentleman answer? I'm on my time, pipe down. Love it. I love it.
Time, pipe down. Saying Shokin had made significant reforms.
Texas.
And I love Jim Jordan jumping in. The time belongs to the gentleman from Texas.
He's made significant reforms, Shokin did. Matter of fact, John Kerry says he was impressive. And within a few months after Shokin was fired, they appoint a prosecutor that said, we're not going to look into Burisma anymore. Cancel that, forget it, we're not looking into Burisma. Boom, here comes the $1 million. Joe Biden threatened the Ukrainian president and the prime minister. Everybody can see it, to fire Shokin, or the United States won't give the $1 billion. If that is not quid pro quo, sir, what is? I will tell you what it is, and America agrees with me. It's bribery, and it's impeachable. Are you going to do something about it? I bet you're not, and that's why you, sir, also need to be impeached.
Base Troy Nobles out of Texas. Merrick Garland should be impeached. I mean, the corruption that swirls around Joe Biden is undeniable at this point. Undeniable. Keith in Washington, you got a comment on Ukraine and our wonderful resident-in-chief, Joe Biden. What's up, Keith? You're on Super Talk.
Hey. How you doing, guys?
Good, man. How are you?
Excellent, always. I wanted to put in a compliment for you. Hey, you were talking about all the self-infliction that Biden's done through the years in his legislation and this newly approved Ukraine budget again for them. You realize that, to add to what your point was making with Joe Biden through the years, it was a self-inflicted that Russia invaded Ukraine to capture that port because of the newly approved Pelosi-Biden approval of that Nord Stream pipeline. That was all self-inflicted by those guys. Yep. It was a cause and effect. They literally did that and caused him to invade Ukraine.
Yeah, and you can also look at the weak policy. Russia took Crimea under Obama, and then they take Ukraine under Biden. Nothing happens while Trump is in office.
Sure, it's all an allowance. All of this, it's all an allowance.
Yeah.
And even on the right side, I look back and I'm going, hey, can we just blame the Dems? Well, it's all by allowance that we've allowed them to get this far. You mean to tell me we're going to have Pelosi at her age run the tables on everyone? Are you kidding me?
No, hey, you're absolutely
She's
right.
going to run the table on every congressman and senator? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Do we not have any brains on the right side?
No, I mean, there's corruption on all sides. I absolutely agree with you. I mean, you can see Lindsey Graham and all those guys. They're all in the mix, too.
Yeah, I call him Flimsy Graham for a reason. Flimsy Graham. That's his new name.
It. I'm stealing that. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for the call. Jeff in Hendersonville, your thoughts on the Bidens. Jeff, you're on Super Talk. What's up?
Hey, gents. I mean, I'm listening to this with Garland. I can't anymore. I mean, what really scares me is that the Democrats, they applaud this chicanery, this moving the goalposts, this stringing along, this total absence of truth or accountability. It literally is. I think they are just so far down the road to hatred, and they've crystallized that in Trump, that they're okay with this. You can't even reason anymore with people. It is really, really frightening to me. But, I could go on. But how many more billions to Ukraine? Man, I went to Kroger yesterday. I had to, give blood to buy a loaf of bread.
It feels
insanity.
It feels like we're living in Les Miserables right now. You know what I mean?
Well, we're definitely miserable. I just don't see how can there be that much of the far left progressive base that is okay with this? How can we not reason with our friends and neighbors that are Democrats, but maybe in the middle, and go, look, man, this has nothing to do with Trump. Look around you. Are you really okay with this?
Well,
what's going to happen in 2024?
I think the middle is opening their eyes to it. When you see 33% of Democrats say that they're open to voting for RFK Jr. as a third-party candidate, they see what's going on. But a lot of them are blinded by Orange Man bad. You know what I mean?
It's scary stuff, man. It is cult behavior, no doubt. Well, thanks for having me on. Keep it going. I'll keep listening, but man, it's hard to take.
Hey, I appreciate you, Jeff. It's hard. It's hard for us to talk about it sometimes. That's why we kind of joke around and poke fun, because at a certain point you just get frustrated, but you don't want to just keep screaming at the clouds. Nobody listens to us.
Yeah, I hope people realize we know obviously how screwed up it all is, but yeah, we gotta find some joy.
Myself and Matt could fix this in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, we'd have it done.
Easy.
Well, I'd probably turn my head to some corruption and against you, and something like that would happen. But yeah, we'd have it done.
Yeah. Mac would accept money and bribes. Mac would turn his head, much like he did when the mugshot that I have in here framed of President Trump was vandalized yesterday.
Brutally vandalized.
Mac was in the building, and he turned his head to the vandalism that happened. But we are going to get to the bottom of the vandalism for the Trump mugshot. Matt Murphy is in here next. I have strong suspicions, strong leanings that he had something to do with it, and we're going to ask him about it. Next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We've dealt with a lot of lighthearted news today. You know, billions to Ukraine, the southern border. But it's time to deal with something serious. Matt Murphy's joining me in studio. My personal property was vandalized in the studio. Somebody took the very best mugshot, Donald Trump's mugshot, which I had framed and presented as a gift in here. And somebody vandalized it yesterday.
It's shameful. I've heard you speaking of this matter all morning long, Chris. And I'm going to tell you something. If you're watching on Super Talk TV, we're going to get to the bottom of who did this. As God is my witness, we're going to find out who did this.
It's weird.
I'm your boy. You are Starsky, and I am Hutch. I am Cagney, and you are Lacey. We're going to get to it.
What do you got in your hand there?
Oh, it's a dry erase marker. I don't know where this came from.
Weird.
So I have some suspects that I would like for you to consider.
Okay.
Have you considered the whereabouts of Ray Epps? I'm just asking questions. Now, in a more serious vein, here's what I would suggest. Anytime, when you get a big murder, right? When the police announce, hey, we found this house, and there's there's bags full of feet in the basement. What do the neighbors say? They say, we never knew. He was such a quiet boy. I suggest to you that Dan Mandis is your prime suspect.
I already ruled Mandis out. The picture was so up high, I don't think Dan could have reached it.
But as your partner in this investigation, I bring new evidence to the table, and I have it on good authority that Mandis was seen loading a little step stool into his car.
Oh, do you?
See? See what I'm saying?
Now, I've watched a few episodes of Columbo in my day. And I feel like sometimes those who scream the loudest about suspects have a guilty conscience.
Excuse me, sir. Just one more question, sir.
Yeah.
May I one more question? No, look, we will get to the bottom of it.
I'm going to be honest with you, Matt. Doesn't look good for you.
Am I on the suspect? Wait a minute.
You're on the top of the suspect list. And in fact, the super texters have been commenting all day that they believe this was Murphy.
Okay, I will tell you emphatically that I had nothing to do with the physical desecration of that fine mugshot photo of President Donald J. Trump.
What a ridiculous clown show.
I didn't. I had nothing to do with it. As far as anything else that I may have seen, I suggest to you that snitches get stitches.
Oh.
And I don't care for stitches.
I feel like that's fake news. I feel like everything you're telling me is
Here's the great thing. Here's what I think I could do. Also for you Super Talk TV people. Here's what I think I can do. Hold on. Wait. Oh, look.
I thought you were gonna turn the mustache into a Hitler mustache for the left.
Oh, that's good.
Why did they do that? There you go. All right.
I think he looks better with the horns. He's more menacing.
Larry texted in and he agreed with me. If the picture was over 5 feet high, Mandis could not reach it. 0227 thinks it was Brian Wilson.
This is classic. No, this is a classic example of you, sir, taking steps out, representing the younger conservative generation versus these establishment rhinos that sneak their butts in here.
Members of the Uniparty, if you will. Is that where you're getting at? It smells like Uniparty doings to me.
Maybe we're closer. We're going to crack this case, and
we will. I have my suspects, and we haven't heard the end of this. I promise you, sir. We will get to the bottom of this. We will prevail. We will rebuild. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.